Not once do we hear a word from Joseph, only his reactions. But those reactions are a model for us, total availability to all the surprises of God and complete trust in that same God. Even though he was only the foster father, he had all the paternal rights over the child Jesus in his humanity, and there would certainly have been a huge bonding, the which is still there in glory. Hence his power of intercession for the child Jesus still can't refuse. There's too much love between the two. And so it is that over the centuries he remains always somewhat in the background, although saints and mystics have had an intuition of his power in glory. Eventually, the Lord wanted more attention to be given to his own foster father, and he was proclaimed patron of the Universal Church. One day, good Bishop Smith here was telling me the story of what he had witnessed in the Second Vatican Council when he was a young priest there taking notes. There was an intervention by a bishop who had been imprisoned and tortured under the communist regime and had lost his hearing. He had a great devotion to St. Joseph, and he decided to plead for St. Joseph in his intervention in the aula during the course of the early part of the Second Vatican Council. But he was going on, and there were strict rules about how much time one could use up in aula. So the messages were coming through by crescendo, sufficit, sufficit, and eventually, because he was carrying on, they had to cut the microphone. The only thing was that they weren't aware that St. John the 23rd was watching everything on closed-circuit television, away from the aula itself. He knew that bishop, and he knew what he'd been through. He also knew that he couldn't hear. The following day, he intervened, and he did something which hadn't been done for many centuries. He added something to the Roman canon. He took the hint of this good holy bishop who had been silenced, and he did, by shortcut, what the whole council couldn't do just like that. And the following day, it was commanded that the name of Joseph be put evermore in the Roman canon. Towards the end of his pontificate, Pope Benedict knew that it was only logical that that name should be in the other Eucharistic prayers, which at that time, of course, hadn't even been thought of. And although he retired at that time, it had been launched into the air, and the initiative had already been placed in the mind of those who knew, and it was left to his successor, Pope Francis, to put it into practice, and that was one of the first things that Pope Francis did, reflecting, as it happens, his own personal devotion to St. Joseph, as is testified by the number of sleeping Josephs that have gone round the church since his reign. He does look after us. This house was placed from the beginning under his wings, and he never lets us down. Even miraculous interventions, the exact sum coming at the right time, and so on. Years ago, when at Mount St. Joseph Abbey, Rostree, it was coming up to his feast, and I thought I might do something to honour him. Good Abbot Columkill repeated the words of Abbot James Fox, who had said to Thomas Merton, "Work on it, work on it." And so it was that this hymn came into being, and it was sung for his feast. It was also sung later on for the solemn profession of Dom Liam, who then became later superior. Just one for Father and Father of all men, look at this time, look again to the children, whom in adopting thy Lord thou hast fathered, whom thou hast gathered to be thine own brethren. Called by thy name, on thy name we are calling, thy charge we are see the pilgrims befalling. This house that shields neath the strength of thy wisdom, this child that seldom finds help in his falling. We are thy portion, we are thine own pardon. Walk thou ahead, place our feet where hast trodden. Thine own unhardened, unnoticed, come guiding. Thy path of hiding, where secrets lie hidden. For thou art unknown and wast thus in the living, none but one ere thee saw in thy giving. And 'tis the obscure way that we too would follow, if small as hell no one deep its striving.